So first it was expulsions from 109 countries, and then it was 109 states, which basically the same thing historically anyway. Then it was different places. Then it was different times. When the important details where something happened and how many times something happened keep changing in order to keep the number 109, you know somebody's up to something. Oh, we knew why they kicked the Jews out, for not worshiping Jesus. So that's why whoever made this dumb meme to appeal to dumb people used to be okay to say we hate their religion because they will not drop to their knees and worship Jesus, and that was a good enough reason a long time ago. After a while, that was not considered a good reason to hate Jews. They changed the fucking reason. Every time it started to become not a good enough reason, and you're going to see that in here. Details of where something happened and how many times something happened keep changing in order to keep the number 109. You know somebody's up to something. Well, it's funny too because it's what you guys accuse us of the Holocaust, because the European powers were having trouble determining the numbers of people because the Soviets were unfortunately on the team, and that's because it was 10 million Jews at one point, and they had to keep with the number. As soon as the number was changed once, it was you keep changing, and it was always the Jews, because we control the European powers. We control the Soviet Union. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical too. Do not adjust your television screen. You guys are so fucking stupid. Anyway, so that being so, let's get right into it. So here's some of your list that I got. But it's on this thread that I'm posting this on. Here we go. So I got this massive, and I only got up to about the year 1200 or something like that. There we go. That's better. So first thing I said, I'm going to get to because you guys come to the conclusion first and then explain second, poisoning the well, I'm going to just go ahead and start the way you guys start. So I'm just going to say, you always say, but it's, but it's everybody else's fault. In going by your own fucking list. You see, you don't say what we allegedly did to get kicked out. There's only one where it was a genuine possible thing that some people in our community might have did. And it was so fucking long ago. I want to know, you guys start at the year 250 CE. That's funny and desperate on your part. See, when I first heard this 109 shit, I assumed you guys were talking in recent centuries. I didn't know you were going back, because only one group of people can you accuse. There's only one nation on earth that you can accuse of any crime that's over 1,000 years old. That's our privilege. That's our right to be accused of shit that we allegedly did over a millennium ago, even 2,000 years ago. Because you see, the people who share this, they're still obsessed with, you killed Jesus, which we didn't kill Jesus. That's another conversation. So here we go. 17 minutes into this video on 250, Carthage, starting all the way back at the year 250. I actually found another one that somebody shared. You started where we got expelled from our own country, as if that fucking counts. No, I'm not even gonna acknowledge that, you stupid fucks. You take that, roll it up super duper friggin' tight, pull down your pants with that, okay? If you're gonna use that as a sign that we did anything wrong. It's funny though, most of you guys lionize the Romans as the heroes in that story. It tells us a lot about what you wish, that you're this power trippy, powerless fucks that dream that you could be the mighty Rome. Okay, whatever. And then, enough, get to the point. Year 250, accounts by Tertullian and Augustine. By the way, Tertullian, Augustine, these are the people who accounted it. So if you want a little history, I learned this from David Irving. I'm a little bit of a fan of David Irving, to tell you the truth. I know. Gasp. I actually like his methods of confirming history. Now, he's violated those rules a few times. I'm going to just talk about David Irving. Actually was a great man to learn from in terms of having a standard to determine if something is historically something that should be believed or not. He's not a Holocaust denier. He just doesn't believe Hitler knew about it. And I could make a case. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I could make a case for that. I don't know. He is a bit of an anti-Semite, yet his methods of historical validation are good. He says you got to start with the documents that existed in the contemporary time. And that's what I do when I go to the people who recorded this, so that anybody who questions me can look them up. So here we got Tertullian and Augustine. And this is hard to do sometimes. The account is gone, and you only know about the account because somebody else wrote of the account, which isn't worth much. But if that's all you got, but you can't confirm, you can't say something's true based on it, not by itself. Carthage Jews may have fled rather than been expelled when Justinian stole their property and made their synagogues into churches. The expulsion was completely over religion. Allegedly, we were doing something we don't do. We were doing, have you heard the good news of Judaism? Apparently we were doing that. That thing we don't do, we've done it twice. If we did it here, we did it twice in history. Now, the Jews were there first, long before the Christians in Carthage. Now people say, Carthage fell. It's the same city. It's rebuilt on the ruins of the old one. I actually saw that and I'm like, what? And I'd forgotten that they still called it Carthage. Justinian didn't like the Jews were allegedly proselytizing. There's no evidence that we did that, but let's just take it to be true that some Jews somewhere did things that are not becoming of Jews as Jews. Jews were making competition with the church and Justinian didn't like that, so he kicked us out. Religion. There's your reason. Second one. Alexandria. This is a fascinating piece of history. This is the one time that we might have actually done something where kicking us out was justified, but probably not. According to John, Bishop of Niku, only the Jews who were part of the violence that ensued when a scuffle had broken out and it got real ugly, were banished, and the Jews as a whole were not. There's another one, I forgot to list them here, that said that we were all kicked out. Either way, the ones who ordered the expulsion was Cyril, the bishop who had Hypatia skinned alive and burned down the great library. So even in the case where there might have been some justification, the expulsion is unconfirmed. If you have a bunch of Jews that you kick out of the city and you leave other ones in the city on the charge that the ones you're kicking out were part of a riot, you didn't expel the Jews. Some people who happen to be Jewish. So far, we have one. So let's count. Let's keep count. But I'm not going all the way through the list. I'm going up about to the 13th century because I ain't got all fucking day. Okay, 418. Minorca, not on the 109 list, but I listed it anyway because that's how I roll. Might as well squash it before you guys insert it in your next list when you find out it exists, which you'll do anyway. If you don't leave your religion and get baptized, you have to leave. Open and closed case, look it up. 554, the two dioceses. This is one expulsion. If it's an expulsion at all, we'll see. Because it was ordered by the same bishops. Two incidents, two places. See, your list says two different times. Okay, so you're moving the goalposts constantly with this thing. Jews under the diocese were required to accept baptism and left instead. Entirely a matter of religious imposition, not by definition expulsion. We were allowed to stay if we became Christian. We don't do that, so we left. Visigoths of Spain. The Visigoths were some of the most radicalized anti-Semitic pieces of shit that the world had known, even counting Rome. Visigoth King Sigismund, and this is all Ashbach, History of the Visigoths, Isidori, Ariel, Volume 3. I got it listed right here. Canon 57, Mazo, Legis Visigothium, Volume 1, Lex 13. Okay? Look that shit up. I'm not your school teacher. Nobody's paying me. 612. Okay. Visigoth kings have ordered that all Jews submit to baptism within a year or undergo scourging, mutilation, banishment, confiscation of goods. As a result, Jews may have immigrated. Children over 6 were taken from their parents and indoctrinated into Christianity. I know you motherfuckers would love to do that because you're evil and control freaks, which evil people are control freaks. Okay? Well, fuck you. You're not doing that again. Try now. Do it right now. Go try to do this shit that you did here. I'm going to say you did because you lionized Germany and then Third Reich, and Hitler lionized the Visigoths, and you quote this as if we did something wrong. Well, what we did is we refused to become Christian. Some stayed and did. It's not an expulsion, purely religious persecution. Visigoth Empire. No record of an expulsion at all. All Visigoths' anti-Jewish measures were, however, no expulsion in 642. All Visigoths' anti-Jewish measures were 100% religious, yet not expulsions. And this goes back to what I was saying, but it's everybody else's fault. So far, yes. If you stick your nose where it doesn't fucking belong and try to impose your religion on us, then it is your fault. And say it again. If you stick your fucking nose where it does not belong and try to make somebody else become part of your religion, it's you, and you expel them for it or do anything else, then it is your fault. There's nothing that person did. It's you. It's not everybody else. It's you. That thing, the premise that you're making on us, right back at you. Okay? Then that would be your fault, not the people who narcissistically imposed their religion. Moving on. Italy, 855, Louis II proclaimed in 855 that all Italian Jews had to leave the country before October 1st. The order, however, was not carried out into effect. No reason given, but it's safe to assume that it was the same reason as all the other ones, all the other would-be expulsions, not being Catholic. So 855, nope. So far you got one. You got one actual expulsion. We're all the way up to the end of the 9th century. 876. This one's interesting. Sens. I didn't know about this alleged one. The mention of an expulsion of the Jews from Sens around 876 is an 11th century chronicle. So 9th century, it's 2 centuries later. Is seemingly a confusion and probably refers to the expulsion at the beginning of the 11th century of Duke Renaud of Sens, who Judaized and called himself king of the Jews. Ergo, no reason to think it happened. Mainz. Emperor Henry II expelled the Jews of Mainz in the city in a rage after a pamphlet was published by a former priest named Wesselin, who converted to Judaism and published the Diversitate Temporum of Albert of Mainz. Their panties got in a bunch because one of their priests became a Jew, and that hit their ego right in the nuts, the tiny little nutsack, and it hurt real bad, and they decided to punish us for it. What would you expect? It's German king. Religious and jealousy, that's all it was. So, yes, so we got two. We have two. We are about 800 years in, and we got two. France expelled 1872. Germany expelled 1182. Philip Augustus confiscated the lands and the buildings of the Jews and drove them out of the lands governed by himself directly. 2. The reason for this is that Philip needed funds to defeat the various barons who challenged him. In order to do, he annulled all loans made to Christians by Jews, taking instead a comfortable 20% for himself. By the way, if you're going to poo-poo us for being lenders, money lenders, then you have to, you can't champion the European kings that commissioned us to do it. You can't have it both ways. Sorry. I know you're into the whole going both ways thing. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but in this case there is. We all went to college. So he annulled all the loans made, Jews, taking instead a comfortable 20% for himself. You remember about the thing you accuse us of being greedy? He also believed in Jewish blood libel. That's the idea that we kidnap Christian children in order to sacrifice them. You've never come up with any evidence. It's funny because the incident in Damascus had happened in the 1800s with that. They tortured a Jew to try to get him to confess to it. They still could never produce any proof. Evidence. That's a whole nother thing. I'm going to do that one because I know you guys are going to start talking about that one soon, because they're doing it in the Arab world. They're trying to resurrect it in the Arab world, even though it was the Muslims that rejected it first, ironically, in that time in Syria. But we're not going to go there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Your stupid satanic panic Halloween candy has razor blades in it. I know you guys are stupid. I know that simply asserting something is evidence to you. But I'm not talking, this isn't for you. This is for people with an IQ over about 75. Okay? Dumbass. Philip Augustus had often heard that when the Jews who dwelt in Paris were wont every year on Easter Day this one's long. And during a sacred week of our Lord's Passion, we go down secretly into the underground vaults and kill a Christian and offer a sacrifice for religion. If you don't know what the blood libel is, Google it. It's more the bullshit, the devil's behind heavy metal music that they had in the 1980s. This is their version of it then. In the fields of Paris, were put to death and crucified by the Jews, by the way. By the way, nobody ever claimed to produce a body back then. It was just, and a crucifixion is pretty easy to confirm if you have a body, even back then, with no forensics. Was then put to death and crucified by the Jews, and through martyrdom went into the blessingness of God. Louis VII, then king, held the Jews guiltless in his death, whereby wherefore many miracles were wrought in God through the prayers or intercessions of Richard, of the glory of God, as we heard. In 1798, he allowed the Jews to return. So the same king that expelled us came to his senses and called us back because he realized he was being a fucking idiot. So you have now 2 and I'm going to count that as a half. 2.5. Let's hurry up because I got to get to work soon. Upper Bavaria, not expelled, murdered by being burnt alive over another baseless blood libel claim. By the way, blood libel claims, whether you're accusing Jews or not. By the way, in the 1980s in America, and I think it was even going on in England. Oddly, strangely, we were not the ones being accused. It was another interesting thing about it. It was just Satanists are doing it. So it's nice to know you guys can't keep your facts straight. I know you guys are like all, like 20, 16, shit like that. Some of you are so dumb you're still believing this shit at 30. But for the most part, yeah. Upper Bavaria, out. Nada. England, expelled for not giving Edward the First a loan. Okay, we got 3 and you got 3.5 now, okay? Expelled for not giving Edward for the first a loan, seized all the Jews' assets, stole their homes and synagogues, and turned them into churches. Motive is very easy to see. And I'm sorry, I'm not wasting any more time on this. Greed, because in all cases we got our pockets picked in all but one of them, right? Yeah, because you got that. So there you go. There you go. Thank you for coming to class. Do your homework and read about the accounts of the rest. I am not going to apologize on behalf of my people for not dropping to our knees and worshiping your idol. I'm sorry. You're entitled to your idol. Not our business. But it's not your business what we worship. And if any of the people that you have a big fucking sports hero poster of in your room, whatever medieval king might have kicked us out for not dropping to our knees and worshiping your God, we are guilty as charged. Fuck you. And I know you would love to force Christianity down a whole lot of throats again. Not a lot of throats, much of anything else of yours have been down. I could see how the frustration brings you to some crazy places. But no. So there you go.